Welcome. I am here with James Westbrook. He and his wife, Amy, are the co-owners at Magnolia Woods, which is about 45 minutes from Houston. They also own a property management company, and we were just kind of diving into business talk. But James, I got a little bit of your story over email. Can you, tell us your background and how you got into co-working?
So I was a corporate sales guy for 25 years. I worked in building products mostly. And so about 2.5 years ago, we bought a building that we decided to turn into a co-working space. We've owned properties for about 11 years. We both started buying houses like in 2011 when we were kind of coming out of the housing bust. So we bought several properties and did well in that. So over the last several years, we've been kind of progressing out of houses and into commercial properties. So the first building that we purchased was a great location. You couldn't ask for much of a better spot. So we ended up buying the building. Didn't even really have a plan for it. Just knew it was a great piece of dirt kind of thing. So we bought the property and ended up looking at it as a commercial property and didn't really like the return. So I said, well, I've been to a few, co-working type of places and that looks pretty cool. And so we decided that was a great idea for a business for us. So my wife and I kind of put our heads together and started putting together a plan on it and went through some, I'll say this, a little bit of fun. I'll call it fun because it really wasn't. But
Right?
renovating it took us quite a while to go through that process.
Wait, so what year was it that you bought the building?
2022.
Okay, so fairly recently, because Houston, we were just saying, I work with a lot of independent operators in Houston. Houston was a little bit slower to adopt co-working. Like it took time to get there. And you said you're in the suburbs, which are growing. I mean, Houston's the third largest, almost. Wait, like it rivals Chicago sometimes for second largest.
Third or fourth in that range. It just depends.
I always kind of forget what a big city it is, though. I mean, it's a really big city and sprawling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say it sprawls forever, and it's a great place. That I always just say, but the bad part about Houston is summertime. July and August, you just can't go outside. So. But other than that, it's a great place.
The thing I remember about working with operators starting spaces in Houston is they all were like, okay, we have to have like the ice chip machine. Like the ice chips were very important in the summer, for drinks or whatever, like more so than anywhere else. And right, HVAC costs are high.
Yeah, electricity. That's one thing I've learned in our 2.5 years of doing this business is your air conditioner and your internet in Houston. So you got to have you can't be without an air conditioner, and you got to have your internet. So
totally. Okay, so you have two locations. So Magnolia and Montgomery. So how did the second one happen?
So like I was saying, I've been a real estate investor for a long time, and I'm always looking. And we bought this one and the one in Magnolia in June of 22, and then we bought the second one in December of 22.
Okay.
It just was a opportunity that came across as it was actually formerly a real estate office. So it was set up really, really well for what we do. So it kind of like we already kind of had our footprint and had our business structure in place. And the building was again, a great dirt, it was in a great spot. Yep. And so we decided that was a great opportunity for us to add another location. And it's actually been great. That building pretty much stays full for us. So we actually have had to make some adjustments because we actually had a conference room that somebody ended up renting out because they needed more space
as an office. Yes, that's a good problem to have.
Yes, no, but Montgomery's been a great opportunity for us, and the Magnolia has as well. We've gone through 3 expansions at Magnolia. As far as we started out with 9 offices, then we went to I think 18, and then our last expansion we added another 20 something. So right now we're at 49 offices at Magnolia. So.
Wait, and that's in 10,000 feet?
Correct.
Yeah, that's dense.
Yes. So most of our offices, and I'll tell you the funniest part of it though, when we bought this property in Magnolia, it was basically had some office and warehouse space. Okay. So about 50-50 split office and warehouse. So we ended up building out the warehouse. So we kind of had the plan of, all right, we do what we can with the offices first, get the business up and running, and then expand later. So we renovated the offices, then we had to build a parking lot to accommodate the expansion, and then we built out the expansion and added the additional offices. The funny part is I drew the floor plan on an Excel spreadsheet to put everything together. I just kind of like, all right, this is my boundaries, and we kind of navigate.
I do find this about building owners. When I work with them, like, wait, well, where's the like CAD drawing with all the they're like, that's for the tenants. The building owners don't have those. They go and measure the offices and send me back the dimensions. Yeah.
Yeah, so we pretty much go
Scrappy.
out, and in the process, we actually had some space that was not ideal size for office space, but we decided to put in some very small spaces, 5x5s. And so the funny part of it is when we finally got the expansion up and running and ready to go, those were the first three. We only had three of them. Those were the first three spaces we rented, 5x5s.
Wait, as in office?
So two of them were office, and then one is actually one of our people needed some storage.
Storage, yeah.
But we actually now we've kind of gone through some evolution of it, but I still have two of them actually, and ended up adding another one later. So we actually have four of them, and two of them are offices, and two of them are storage. So you just never know what somebody needs. So
right.
I've learned, that's one of the things I've learned in this business. You just never
be flexible.
Amen.
Okay. But the advantage is you own the walls, you own it, and you have, I mean, I'm sure you have some exit strategy at some point, but you can calculate the ROI of making those changes, and you're not thinking, oh, my lease is up in 4 years. It doesn't make sense for me to move walls. Right. I mean, that's a big advantage.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, we kind of, I'll say this: I've always owned. I find it hard to really wrap my arms around how you would rent and make it work long term.
Yeah.
So for us, I don't look at this as like I'm going to go and sell this thing for a ton of money. I like the business, and when I was a sales rep, I was very involved in all the people that I worked with. We did a lot of trainings, a lot of mentoring with I worked in building products, worked with contractors, and some of them were just getting started and some were growing. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I do what we do is we like to see small businesses and give them a place to plant and grow and then, I would kind of say be a small part of their success.
Yeah.
So some things we try to do too is some trainings. We have a marketing partner that comes in once a month and does trainings, and we try to do things we have an attorney who will come in and do some meetings and CPA and those kinds of things to give our people a little. I mean, I always kind of say that anybody can open an office and you can walk in with your laptop and sit down and go to work. But, we try to take it that extra step to give people some additional resources to say, hey, with this, I'll choose working with them over another operator just because we offer just a little bit more support, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. What's a building product?
So I worked in roofing and garage doors. I worked for a roofing manufacturer for 4 years, worked for a garage door manufacturer for almost 10, and then I went back to a roofing manufacturer for 11 years.
Okay, interesting. Wait, but how did you get into real estate investing?
I was tired of losing my money in the stock market. In 2011.
Well, right. You were supposed to be looking at your account in 2011. You were supposed to just I listened to a podcast the other day. I can't remember who it was. Might have been Scott Galloway. And he was, I can't remember who it was. They were like, the best investing is like when you lose the password to, start early, and then you lose the password to your account, and then you look, 20 years later, and you're in 2011, you're looking at your account. You're like, this is not going well.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. We're lucky here in Houston. There's one of the larger residential real estate mentoring programs is based here in Houston, and they're on the radio a lot. Huh. And so I started learning it. So I started learning the game by listening to their radio show, and figured out that you don't have to be dependent on the stock market or 401k or any of those kinds of things to give you a retirement. So that's kind of where I got started. And that was just, so I spent months listening to that, and then started buying, we bought a house, and then over the span of 2 years, we ended up buying 10 houses. We bought some of our own, and then we also started managing for other people. So,
Okay.
but it was good. It was a great time to buy because everything was a foreclosure. And they kind of then on the flip side of that, now it's kind of given us the seed money to do some of our commercial projects, including our co-working spaces.
Okay. And your wife was on board. She's like, yeah, let's do this. Who needs a 401k?
Well, she was very, very nervous when we started because obviously, everybody wants stability and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. I just said, when we bought the first house, I said, well, let's just try this one. And if it doesn't work, it would hurt, but we could survive it. And so we did that. And then that one, we bought it. And then within like 3 days, we got it rented. So I was like, well, I found another one. So we got a contract on that one. And then my wife went and saw it. And there was another house in the neighborhood on the way out. She's like, well, let's go look at that one too. So by the time she got really,
She was into it.
she was into it. So yeah, she's been very supportive and been a huge part of our business. Actually, we couldn't have done the co-working space without her. When we started the first location, really both locations, I was still working a full-time job.
Okay.
In the roofing business. So it was a deal where she absolutely, she's been an entrepreneur as well. She had a photography business.
Okay.
So she was
A little bit of the bug. Yeah.
But she hadn't been a really actively in a corporate or business role in a while, other than doing her photography business. She was very successful in that. But it ended up being a deal where she stepped in and took it from 0 to 100 in no time. So she really helped and was the glue that really started the business. And she's helping our son now. We have a son who's in college, and she's helping him now. So she's kind of stepped away to help him.
So how are the locations staffed?
So I have an office manager and myself, and we're actually in the process of hiring at least one more person right now. We had an office manager and one other person, and we're kind of in the process of replacing the one lady who left. So that's one of the things that we kind of go back and forth on the staffing side of it, because it can, but right now we've gotten to the stage and the occupancy level that we pretty much have to have somebody here at least kind of a part-time, if not we're not to the stage where we say, all right, we need to have somebody 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
But we basically are at least 9 to 1 Monday through Friday, at the locations, because so we've kind of learned that, after a certain time in the day, people aren't always,
They don't need much.
They don't need us, but at prime time. So I've stayed very, active, and I have an office at one of the locations.
Okay.
Makes it where I'm usually around to take care of things. And like today, I had somebody coming in. They were a first timer with us doing meeting room. So my office manager, we had her scheduled for a meeting at her other location. And my wife was doing something. So I was like, all right. So I had to push my schedule around. So it's kind of the
Make it
fun
work.
of being an entrepreneur and doing what we do.
Wait, so the Magnolia location is very office dense. What about Montgomery? Is it similar?
Yeah. So the offices there tend to be a little bit bigger. Most of them are like 12 by 12s. So
Okay.
we have at 60, I think that if I remember, at 6,400 square feet. And we have 3 offices there, and 2 meeting rooms.
Yeah. So it's so you do offer dedicated desks and open workspace, but I'm guessing that's not your revenue is mostly offices.
We have determined, we actually are this year we're probably just pulling those out.
Okay. The website's getting updated. No more.
Yeah, because it's a deal that we've figured out there, at least what we've seen in this area. For the most part, people are looking for an office. They're wanting to get that workspace away from home. We got a lot of people that are like, between the kids, the dog, laundry, whatever. It's like, I need a place to go. So that's become the biggest part of our business. So, and then meeting, one thing we're learning too on the meeting side of things, as much as anything, that's become being here longer. It's become, people know us and people come back. They might not come back, every month, but they're back, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. So as our meeting business grows monthly almost now because we're getting our regulars coming through.
Yep. Got
So,
it. And the
uh,
meeting room business, I mean, tell me if I'm right, it probably partly drives the staffing requirement because your office members could be fairly self-sufficient. I mean, you got to have, supplies and that kind of thing. And it sounds like you have, you mentioned there's a competitor in town who culturally is not very human focused, and you guys have, a higher level of sort of customer service and engagement with your members and do some programming to support local businesses. So there's kind of that layer of engagement with your members. But office members are a lot less high maintenance than flex members.
and we've realized too that most of our office members that we have here are, one of the things I learned by starting out with everything co-working is you define your ICA, your ideal customer avatar. And our ideal customer avatar is 30 plus. They drive an SUV. They have
You did the worksheet.
at least, typically they have children and a dog and a thing. So it's
Yep.
like we've realized that for most of the people that come to us, they want to get in, get their work done and go home. So they what they need us when they need us, but for the most part, they want to get in here, do their stuff and get back to their family.
Yeah. I I always I listen to podcasts constantly. It's probably a little bit obnoxious, but I was listening to one the other day and they were talking about social connection and just this idea that we all need it. We're all like very social humans, even introverts,
Mhm.
but that it can be solved like pretty lightly, right? Like, hello to the barista, hello to the front desk, hello to somebody else, like getting coffee at the workspace. It's not necessarily, I think some people want this, but to your point, your ideal customer is like they're really getting they've got probably other community involvement, right? The kids play sports, they're, involved in the school, whatever. And so at work, it's like a light touch in terms of the interaction, which probably makes a big difference in their day to day, but they also need they need to get their stuff done. Productivity, focus, it's that piece. But then the little touches, layer on the social connection, which we all need, but it doesn't have to be happy hour and, all the things that they probably don't have time for.
Yeah, exactly. We tried it a couple of times of doing like, hey, we're going to do a wine mixer or something like that, and everybody's like, by 5 o'clock, I'm
Yeah.
at soccer practice or something.
Right.
But the interesting part of it is that both of our locations, we'll have at least one or two people that has somebody on site all day long, and usually their doors open. Like one of my facilities, we have a functional medicine doctor. And they're kind of that social
The mayor.
person, of
Yeah.
location. And in my other place, I have a real estate agent. They actually have somebody there at the front desk all the time. So it kind
Oh,
of
that's funny. Yeah.
our Montgomery location is in an area that's it's right next to a lake, and people are always looking for, people drive up there and they're looking for maybe a lake house for the weekend or whatever. So
Oh,
they've always
interesting.
had somebody there to just kind of intercept those opportunities. So
Yep.
so we kind of have
It's
enough.
a win-win. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have their place, and we have somebody that's kind of our, hey, how you doing, when they walk in. So
Yeah. Houston is really, I think I've been to Houston like once in my life. We have a group in the Woodlands and they were just doing a photo shoot and they were walking me around a little bit outside. It's gorgeous. Like I think of sort of downtown Houston, but I was like, this is so pretty. I can't imagine getting to work. They had a little like pond, next to the building. It was so pretty.
yeah, no, it's like I say, it's a great area to live, and the weather is good most of the time. Like I say, summers are tough, but the rest of the year is pretty good. But yeah, the Woodlands, we're very close to the Woodlands where we are as well, and so it's one of those things where you've got, you kind of have the trees and nature and all that. So in both of our places, where we kind of have that vibe as well. So it makes it where people can kind of go outside during the day if they need to have lunch or do whatever.
Yeah.
But it's enough to, like I say, it's one thing that we seem to notice is they come in, they get their stuff done, and they want to go and see their trees, not mine. So
Right. Yeah. Right. Perfect. Again, I'm curious about your mail business. Is that something you focus on, and is that kind of growing like the meeting room business, or because that
It
requires
has
a little
been.
bit of
It
staff
has
time?
been good. It's been good business, and it's kind of unique, and we've evolved that business. We have kind of three different levels of service in that, and it works out pretty. And it's worked out pretty good. It's nice. It's nice additional business, and most of it's pretty low maintenance. The only problems we continue, I think we see as much as anything, is when people stop service, and then we're still getting, like,
I
I've got
know.
a couple of people that
Yes,
they stop service, and we're still getting tons of their mail, and it's like,
I
so,
know.
but for the most part, it's been a very good piece of the business, and I mean, it grows every month for the most part. So it's a deal where, kind of, as you look at it, it's, after a while, it's almost like you're renting another office or two
Yeah.
offices or whatever. So it's nice additional revenue for just the little bit of effort that it takes.
It sounds like you run it pretty high occupancy, but I'm sure you have churn like everybody does. Where do your leads come from?
So a few different places. I'll say we do a good amount of networking events, those kind of things that helped us a lot. We've been doing some. We hired a marketing company this year, or late last year, to do some Facebook ads for us.
Ooh.
Um, and
Did those work?
yes and no. So we've picked up some good business, and we've tested it. So it's been good. We've been doing it now for 3 or 4 months, and we've probably, out of the 3 or 4 months, I think we've picked up maybe 4 or 5 office people, as well as
Right.
virtual, some
Yep.
meetings as well. So it's worked, but it's like one of those things that, as we look at it, there's certain it has gotten a little bit more expensive, but it's worked for the most part. So I'd say we're going to stick with it. We actually are kind of, we put a pause on it just recently, because we're going to focus on a couple other marketing things early this year, and then kind of restart it. But we actually have one that was specifically for virtual mail that we did. It was a
Oh,
video.
interesting. Yeah.
And the interesting part about it is we got a lot of responses on virtual mail, but at our virtual offices. But unfortunately, the one thing, I don't know how familiar you are with Facebook ads, the quality can be,
Yep. The leads can be, yeah. Yep. That's
so,
why it's good to test them. I will say ad prices go through the roof during election and holidays, which we just had. So that may be what you were experiencing. So if you felt like it was kind of working, and there's it's we have operators that do really well with them, but it you can get, yes, bad leads.
yeah. And that was kind of that kind of like, and also one of the things that I realized as we go through this process with Facebook is having the infrastructure and the follow-up processes in place to
Yep.
leads as they come in, because
Yep.
as we have gotten into it, it's like, I've realized, like, when we went from kind of the people calling in to the Facebook leads, for the most part, if somebody calls in, they've already done their homework, and they just need to be pushed over the edge to buy. But Facebook lead, there's more nurturing and a pipeline that we really, I kind of helped me realize that we need to build that to make
Interesting.
to
Yep.
make sure that we can accommodate those those leads better. And because, you always hear that, the most sales happen between contact 7 and 12.
Yeah.
And we've always heard, I don't know what that.
No, totally. The people need to, if they're new, to your point, if they're like newer to a concept, right? And you're telling them how it works, what the terms are, yeah, all those things, versus somebody who's like, oh, I saw you, I need an office. When can I start? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been one of those things that right, we're working on now. I mean, I have a VA that I work with, who's been outstanding, and we're setting up some of our automations as well. We use in our CRM program to make sure that we're getting the right number of opportunities to follow with emails and
Yep.
text messages and phone calls and all that, because
Yep.
but we just kind of realized that piece of our business was not as strong as it
Yep.
needs to invest that amount of money to
Yeah.
to make it convert.
Yep. Totally. That makes sense. Do you have a marketing company doing your Instagram? Your Instagram is great. I pulled it up the other day and I was like, oh, I love like your new member features. I love those.
So we have both. So I have our VA
Okay.
does all of our Facebook ads, and our meta ads. So most everything goes between Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
And then I also have my marketing company that also does some of the videos and
Okay.
built out the pay-per-click ads, or whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
on Facebook.
Yep.
Or Insta. So it's been interesting. Yesterday, we don't get a lot through Instagram, unfortunately. I don't know
Yep.
why, but yesterday I actually had somebody that called off of our Instagram ad, and they walked in and signed up for an office, like, which was like, yeah, we've been looking, and it was just, I was like, yeah, we need it. And so they came in and signed up, like, on the spot. So it was,
Yep.
so that's one thing I've learned, is you just never know where the next opportunity is going to come.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, you'll learn that over time. To your point about the homework, like I love the Instagram does a great job of showcasing like who's in your space, getting to know, the members. I just always think people want to know like what's happening behind that door. Who's in there? Are they people like me? Will I fit? So I love the profiles. I think that's great to do. Give your VA a high five.
Yeah, no, she's been awesome. That's one of the things that I'll say, that we've gone through a few, but finding somebody that, once you find the right one, they're just ultra valuable to the business, and taking some of those things. And especially our RVA has been in that space for quite a while, so knows a lot about technology, which
Okay.
I'm
Totally helpful. Yep.
because of my age, I know enough to be dangerous, but I sure am not the most tech savvy person in the world. So she's filled a huge gap for us.
Well, there you go. You're adding in you're accommodating for your weaknesses. We can't be good at everything. You bring the real estate and the,
Yeah.
the deal expertise. Yeah, she's doing a great job. I'm also sort of struck by all the women, your female members. I don't know why, but I'm like, oh, look, it looks you've got a lot of female members.
Yes, I think I actually, it was interesting. We'll donate space to certain groups that want to just need a meeting room to hold their meetings. So I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months ago, we actually had the Women's Council of Entrepreneurs used our office. And so I was like, well, they said, come in and tell us a little bit about your business. So I started looking at it, and I started calculating it, and over 80% of our members are female.
That's nuts. I mean,
And so I think at the end of the day, it's, I don't know what it necessarily to equate it to, other than
yeah,
it's just maybe the area we're in, or so we have phenomenal entrepreneurs in our space.
yeah,
I learn from our members all the time. I've got a couple of people that I'm just like, whenever I have a problem or a thought or whatever, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? So, and I think we just have a good network too, and so I think that's a lot of it. But I like I say, I can't put my finger on it, other than I think, especially when we designed everything, my wife was integral in designing everything. She created beautiful spaces, and
yeah.
I think that's also part of it too. It's
Yeah, the aesthetic. They're very attractive. And I don't mean that women don't get offices and go to co-working spaces. I would say usually, you're looking at 50-50, maybe a little bit of a male skew. And then I get people who go, you went through the startup school, people who go through the startup school who want to do female focused spaces. And I get nervous about that, because if you're in a market, like if you said, well, that's what we want to focus on, I'd be like, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. You might be limiting yourself. And here you are at 80%,
yeah. Well,
without,
it's, yeah. I don't want to. I definitely don't want to eliminate 50% of my market right out of
no, right.
the gate.
Yeah.
So
But I
yeah, it's
wonder,
just,
freestanding building, 'cause sort of attractive aesthetics, like your buildings are attractive also. You own them and you've gotten to decide how they look. And so I wonder if some of those things play into it. And then, I mean, is word of mouth a referral source for you?
yeah, definitely. We do well with referrals, and also too, like our Magnolia location. We also are very, very high on the security of it too.
Okay.
When we first opened, I was a little nervous, because the building, when we purchased it, had access control where the doors basically stayed locked 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I was nervous about that, because I would think people would get frustrated, but I actually, have kind of changed my tune on that now, because I use it as a positive, because, like, hey, you don't know you don't know who's out there. We're on busy roads, so anybody can walk in, and whatever they're trying to do, whether they're trying to sell you something or
Yep.
just wander around. So it's actually, I think that's also been a key to it as well, just having a little bit more security.
Okay. Yep. And yeah, retail level buildings are hard. We had one in Palo Alto, and it's always like you feel strange having the door locked all the time, but yep, it can be a positive. How do you bill your members? What system do you use?
So we have been on Archie, and everything operates through Archie. We're actually in the process right now. We started with Nexodus, and then we went over to Archie, and we're actually our website is built on Squarespace.
Okay.
And we're actually we're in the process right now of converting everything to the e-commerce part of Squarespace and using another company called Bookable, because there's Nexodus was good, but it was a little bit difficult. Archie's got a lot of great things, but we're trying to simplify it a little bit as far as keeping everything inside of our site, not having where somebody has to bounce out.
Yeah.
Because it confuses people. That's one of the
The
things.
tech stack in co-working is shocking when you you think about all the things you need to make it happen. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a deal. We're in that process right now, and we're maybe 30% of the way through the process of seeing if we can make it work, moving it over to the e-commerce
Hmm.
part of Squarespace, and
Okay.
then and doing that, because we're fairly simple. We don't so our we don't
Yeah.
integrate our locks and different things like that with the offices. So for the reality of it is that if we can use it for our building and our booking and all that sort of stuff, and everything else is, we can also integrate it through our CRM, doing automations and so forth. So
Yeah.
we're
The
good.
CRM is key. Don't use the Squarespace email system. Very limited.
Yeah. So yeah, all our emails run through, through Google, and everything through our CM. So for the most part, we're doing pretty good there. We actually I've been very, very happy with our CRM, which is, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Not HubSpot.
Active
Active Campaign. Oh, use Active Campaign. Okay. Yes. Very robust. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very good, very user friendly. So shout
Yep.
out to Active Campaign. They've done do a good job.
And were you CRM familiar from your previous roles, or?
Not really. I
Okay.
mean, the previous company I worked with, we had Salesforce, but I knew enough to be dangerous. But I wasn't a CRM warrior.
A power user. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm still not. It's one of those things. I'm like, I've got to do this because and record my calls. But when I look at I've kind of gotten into the habit, especially as we continue to grow more and more. As I get to the end of my day, I'm reviewing my calls on my.
Yep.
Because we have 3 different phone numbers and text messages and emails, and so I'm trying to do all that, and I realize, like, it's hard to say I've had 40 phone calls and 120 emails, and so to get all of that captured is a challenge. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do I'll say this, the integration between emails and texts and everything like that with our CRM is pretty strong.
Yeah. So you can see it all in one place. Will you do more locations?
We will, as being kind of a serial real estate guy, we've done a lot of different things. I've been looking at some other areas around because I like where we are. I don't want to go too far away, because one, I don't have the bandwidth to go that far.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of places that I'm working on right now. Out of all the things that we've done, I've done true office buildings, storage buildings, houses, all these kinds of things. And so that's one of those things that, as I look at it, the biggest challenge I have is an office building. We have a couple of those where it's basically we just manage maintenance, and we don't have to be on site. So the amount of time and energy is significantly less. So
Yes.
that's my big challenge.
We love this business, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. So but as we, my goal for 2025 is to build our team better, because, it's one of those kind of the story of an entrepreneur is you do when you
Just do it all. Yeah.
do everything. And then, now I've kind of got to get into that phase of getting a team and getting them and being especially being a kind of an independent sales guy. I've never managed people before.
Yep. Yep.
So I've been very lucky. We have an office manager who I always tell her she was sent from heaven, because she kind of came in and has been able to wear all the hats and do all
Yeah.
this, do a good job, and she takes
And
ownership.
just has like the right energy and initiative to do it. I mean, that's a big, big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I could say she's been outstanding, and but now I've got to find more people like her to help us, so if we're going to do this, because right now I feel like we've got a good system, we
Yeah.
understand it, so I think we need to do more, because it's like it's kind of like we got everything built out, now it's just finding the next opportunity.
Yeah. Now that you figured out, especially 2 locations, can you go on vacation?
Sometimes. I'm not, I'll say this. We go, and I have my phone with me, but like I say, my office manager, she will say, turn off your phone,
Okay,
don't
good.
email,
She
whatever.
tries to save you from yourself.
Exactly. And sometimes I can do that and be successful, but most of the time I'm an early riser. And so a lot of times I'll get up, and like if I'm going on vacation with my wife or whatever, I'll get up at 5 in the morning and get on email for a little while, and get everything at least, where I feel like I'm
Yeah.
comfortable, and then that kind of thing. So I think I have a hard time just turning it off regardless. So
Yeah, the true entrepreneur probably. And if you're gonna be that way, you might as well work for yourself. So
yeah, and that was kind of where I got, because when I left my corporate job about a year ago, and was very we did we were very successful, made a great living, had a company car, an expense account, all those kinds of things. So
yeah,
it was, there's a lot of people like, man, what are you thinking? Why walk away from that? I'm like, well, but also this had grown to a point where it needed more attention, and also too, I'm like, if I don't do this, I'll never do it, kind of thing. So I just needed
yeah,
to say, all right, I need to make the
make
jump
the
and
jump. Yeah.
do something. And it's been I called it a retirement from my job, but my wife's like, well, you're supposed to be retired, and I'm like, well, yeah, but yeah,
That's probably not the right word to
yeah,
to
there's days
use.
where we definitely I work harder than I
Yeah,
was when I was over there. But and I always tell everybody, it's like, it's mine, and
yeah,
it's to be able to make the decisions in the business and live with them, whether they're good or bad. But that's kind of been the great part of what we do, is we have a good business and good people that we work with, and that's kind of made it a lot better than just working for the man. So.
totally. Well, I'm gonna go out. I gotta go out of order a little bit because I feel like you answered the what do you like about the business? What's been most surprising or hardest about the business?
On the I'll say this, probably for us, it's keeping the flow of opportunities going, because I think, for the most part, we've been very, very fortunate. We haven't had a lot of people come in and stiff us, or
Yep.
just typical business problems. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we've done a pretty good job of getting good people. So, but the most part of it, especially when we go through an expansion and add 20 some odd new offices, and that little bit of nervous factor of,
Yeah. The
hey,
ramp. The yeah.
how do we keep it going? And the good part of it, we've been very, very fortunate, and like I say, we're in a good area where there's people there. We're in the path of growth here. So
Yeah.
there's always people moving to the area, but I think that's been I kind of, I was saying, I was a sales guy for 25 years. So I always kind of, like to pat myself on the back on being a good sales guy, but but the marketing is part of it that's different than the sales side of it. It's like, so
Right.
getting them in the
You're
door.
right. You're doing both because you had somebody somewhere who was doing the broader marketing in your corporate job, and then you were the salesperson, and now you have to right. How do we have that constant flow of leads that'll come in and you close them? Do you do most of the tours or does your team do them?
And so it depends on the location.
Okay.
But I do a good amount of them, just because of my office manager is she works part time. So a lot of times if people are coming in at 5 o'clock at night or whatever. It
Yep.
was yesterday. I was at our Montgomery location, and I just, out of the blue, I had two people that called that day. I want to come in today, and booked a tour, and we closed both of them.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I need to get to a better spot where I'm not the one that has to do them all. Like I say, my office manager, she does a great job. And initially, my wife did them all, but when we started the business, and
Okay.
she found out how great of a salesperson she was.
She was, right?
Yeah. So
Well, and also really good product market fit. I mean, it sounds like, and I can see from your photos on your website that you have a beautiful space. So great location, beautiful space. And then I'm sure you give great tours. There was somebody tagged me in a discussion on LinkedIn about some guy who went into a WeWork in India, and the, manager just asked them all these like requirements questions, just very, and I was like, that's really funny because in generally, an independent owner will like ask you your life story before they ask you what kind of office you need. It's like the opposite. It's almost like that, or not have right all the systems that you're trying to get into place, like the automations. There's like this balance, right? You can't be high touch, through the entire process because it's not sustainable. So pick and choose where you create that human interaction. But I'm sure you ask lots of questions about somebody's business and, why do they need space? And then you get to, okay, which one would you like? And, when do you want to start?
yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to be creating the business or the co-working space as a almost as say a person or whatever. But we're here to be a part of your business and help you and and create that, help them create a personal touch for what we do, as opposed to like you were saying, the guy that walked into the Regis or whatever, where they didn't feel like they were being treated like a person. They were just treated like, okay, well, you check all these boxes. We ask questions and we qualify people, but it's also first and foremost, we're like, well, tell me about yourself. So what do you do? And understand them, because obviously the questions are, they'll a lot of times if you ask the right questions, they'll sell themselves, because they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like we do this, or oh, so you like that? Yeah, we have that, or whatever. And then you can kind of,
Yeah.
that process, as opposed to being, just checking boxes, and then somebody feels like they're being sold as opposed to being helped, I guess is the
Right.
best way to say it.
Yeah. And to your point, kind of selling themselves, like they just need to confirm this is the right solution for them. And if it's not, then you don't want to sell them anyway.
Yeah, and I'll say that we've had that happen last week. I had somebody come in and they actually like said, "Yes, I'll take my office," and then they called back a couple days later, "Hey, I've got a problem, whatever." And I was talking to my office manager, and I'm sorry, I was talking to my VA, and I said, "Well, I said those are okay, because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, sometimes it wasn't meant to be, and there's a good chance that would have been a problem for us down the road. So I'm okay with." Sometimes when something happens like that, you just kind of say, we dodged a bullet problem. So
Yeah. Bless and release, and maybe they'll be back some day later. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's kind of how I looked at it. It was a good person, no negativity at all. It was just like, hey, something came up, and like I say, you never know where those opportunities lead, or whether they become maybe a referral at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't work out, but they're like, hey, my friend's looking for a space. And so that's kind of the way we look at it, is we try to be cordial to everybody in any situation, because you never know where the road takes you and who they cross, and that they can send us opportunities, or just be a friend. So
Yeah. 100%. Okay. So I'm curious, you did the startup school. What made you look for help when you were starting?
well, like I was saying, when I started and doing rental houses in the real estate business, I was a part of that mentor
The
program.
radio show. Yep.
And it really, it taught me that you can't go into a business, or an entity. And I'll share my next story too, to reinforce that. But it taught me that you need to have a mentor and an outline, and help, because the reality of what we're doing is every business, no matter what, has got nuances of
Yeah.
how do you be successful, and you can't necessarily always be successful just kind of shooting from the hip or winging it. And I'll tell you that the next step in my story is I've done rental houses, and we've had the co-working space and done well. So I ended up buying a storage building about the same time we bought some of these properties as well. And I got into that. I was like, hey, it's property rental, no big deal.
I'll just figure this one out.
I'll figure it out. No problem. And the business has done okay. It breaks even probably in the grand scheme of it, but it kind of made me realize whenever you're going into something new or something that you're not an expert in, getting help. Because if you don't have that help and the knowledge and the experiencers, the mentor group that I work with here in Houston, they have a saying there that's like, there's people that have been where you want to go. This group, they send back the maps. So
I love that. That's
there's
a great way to put it.
There's a roadmap to where you want to go. They've been there and they send the maps back. And I think that's one of the great parts about what y'all do as well, is that there's a roadmap to success. And this business model, it's just kind of having that, what do you call it? The courage to say, I don't know it all and I need help. And because, and as I go through this, and I've actually got a business coach now because, y'all have done great for us. And I've got a guy that has really helped us as far as giving us the resources to take it to the next level and manage that. Because, one of the things that's very simple that I never really figured it out very much was, do you have a business plan? Do you have a mission statement? All these things. And by the way, he was like, well, hey, if you don't have that, chat GPT it. And so we did that within about an hour and a half. I had, instead of spending weeks and weeks, I used a chat GPT, developed all of that. And it was, so that's the other piece that's been great. So, but no, like I say, our business coach has been very helpful. His name is Steve Rosenberg. He's here in Houston as well, and has has a great group of entrepreneurs that they really have done a phenomenal job and given us the resources. And he's also the kind of coach too that, like I was saying, he's done a lot, but he also brings in experts. So it's not just this one person standing up on a stage and, hey, I know it all. It's like, I know enough, but I also know that there's people out there that are really good in processes or AI or marketing or whatever that he brings in to really help. So that's one thing I'll say too, is that, we all work in our little corner of the world, but there's experts in all of these other areas that we can tap into that really help us get to the next level and make it where maybe one day we can take a vacation, right? So
that's the goal. That's the goal. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to let you go. We're at the end of our time. Thank you for doing this and sharing your story and some of the little nuggets that'll help other people that are listening. And thank Amy for us as well.
Absolutely will. She, like I say, she's awesome, and she helps in so many ways, and is just the love of my life. And we walk together every day to make it a better place and help everybody we can.
Love it. Thank you, James.
Hey, thank you so much. Have a great day.